Yeah, things were a lot different. Whenever I started, I wanted to say about probably 80 to 90% of my students were first generation college students. Um, and of course, as the generations went on, it became less. So now I'm saying probably it's about maybe 50 to 60 for the most part, which is still a good chunk. I remember my first 4 or 5 years, um, a lot of them spoke a lot of Spanish, which is fine. I'm pretty fluent in both. But I wanted them to have their lessons in English because they're going to teach in English. And then sometimes I would chime in and start, the Mexican side would come out and we start, jiving in Spanish. I'm like, wait a minute, okay, let's do this again. It's like, okay, yes. And so, that's kind of what we were, what how it worked, and as it evolved into something more, and not just myself. I mean, not just the studio, but the entire school. Because I always think back of when my predecessor, who's the chairman, um, he got here when he was about 23 years old, and now he's in his 60s, and he basically did it all. He was the mariachi director. He was the director of bands. Later on, he did basically four jobs. It took four. He did four jobs or more, right? So now we're all fortunate to have our own job, and I'm fortunate to have another full time trombone teacher here to help me out. I didn't think that would happen. But the studio's gotten so large, and it already had a pretty good. The school already had a very good reputation, doing all these great things with the jazz band and the marching band, and also the actual top concert band. Um, and then eventually we included an orchestra. That's kind of semi professional, but then we use the winds and brass and percussion to outfit that, and then we use, because the strings are starting to the string program's starting to happen. It's getting, little by little, every year starting to get bigger. So we use a lot of I guess community players and higher regional players from bigger cities like Houston and Austin and San Antonio, things like that, and Corpus. Um, so that's kind of maybe a little brief history on the program of the studio. We do have primarily, um, I would say when we first started, it was 99% Hispanic with 1% Anglo, and then as it's still that way. I mean, not to those numbers, but it's still primarily Mexican Americans. And then now we have some African Americans in the studio. We have a mix, a lot of mix now. We have more ladies now in the studio. We have, let's see, how many we have, Megan? Two,
Two right
two
now.
now, and then I'm actually recruiting two
Prospective
more.
one.
Then
Hmm.
perspective, I have two more coming, I think. So we're always at the mercy of the band directors of the females playing trombone. When they get started and stuff like that. But happy that they're here. It's getting more diverse. And it also, it's the students that I get from certain areas. We're about 2 hours from the Rio Grande Valley, which borders Mexico. So I get a lot of my students from there. But lately, we've been getting the attention of people up north. Megan taught in Austin, so we trying to hit that market a little bit. And I've before she got here, we have one from Austin. And we have some from Houston, from I believe any from San. I don't think San Antonio. But possibly even uh San Marcos, which is
San
in
Marcos,
which
yeah.
is in between Austin and San Antonio. So it's starting to go off. It's starting to branch out into different regions. You know, which is why we're getting more diverse students. And things are changing. We're now a school of music. We used to be a department of music, and then with the new music building, things are growing. So the administration is all for the music department or music school growing. Adding new faculty members, things like that. We're adding more degrees, which is nice, giving that option to the students down here. Another thing me and the students, we kind of started was our trombone day. We started it about 4 years ago, and the first time I remember we started, and that was my goal. It wasn't to make money for the studio. Of course, that helps, but my goal when I started with the students is I wanted to bring something to South Texas that was big, that was, trombone wise, that really wasn't being done, and the way, and I like to go big or go home. I don't like to, I tell the students, I don't like to waste my time with little things. If we're going to spend so much effort, then we're going to do it. So the first year we had the trombones of Costa Rica. And the reason why I had the trombones of Costa Rica was because I, when I was younger, I must have been my one of my very first ITFs was, it was at Belmont University. I think I was 20, I don't know, 23, something like that. I was getting my master's at University of Northern Colorado, and we were one of the featured groups. And I remember seeing the trombone of Costa Rica there, and I was just like, whoa, and that was an eye opener for me because they were playing songs that I remember growing up with, even though they're Costa Rican, but they're playing Latin American songs on trombone. So that really hit me hard as a young trombonist. And so I thought that'd be great to have. And they were actually my first guest artist year one when I got here. So I thought it'd be fitting to have them for the very first trombone day. And I told the students, all right, I'm hoping we get 75 to 100 trombonists. And we ended up getting about 125 the first year coming. I was like, all right, great. And then we were bringing them all in. They had a good They had a good time. The next year, I decided to bring in who did I bring in? Zoltan, I think. Zoltan Kiss from Notes of Brass. I brought him in, and then it jumped to between about 150 to 200. And then we had Pete Ellefson the next year, about the same numbers roughly. And then we had our big year right before COVID hit was Joe Alessi when he came in, and of course we had over 500. So, and that was when we made the move into the building, into the new building. So it worked out pretty well. Um, so uh, that's kind of where we are now. I told Megan that I used to do almost everything alone the very first 4 years, like recording, audio recording, video, recruiting, everything, and then the students started to get more responsible and they started to help me. Like, sure, I want to do recording. All right, let's do it. Sir, I want to do video. Okay, let's do it. So then I formed officers within the studio because we have about 42 majors roughly. And so I kind of treat that like a fraternity in a way with our officers and our meetings and our things like that. We hired Megan. She got thrown right into it. I'm like, let's go. This is how we, and, it works pretty well with the officers. It's nice because I don't have to do everything anymore. And I can pretty much put some more effort onto other things that need to be done,